I'm Darren Cooke, Interim Chief Innovation and Entrepreneurship Officer for the Berkeley campus, a role I took on July 1st, 2024, when Rich Lyons, our former and first CIO, became the chancellor. I was introduced to this book on July 2nd or something with an email from Mike. He's like, oh, by the way, we're writing a book. I'm like, really? That sounds like a big project. And guess what? It was a big project. Mike, Laura, huge fun working with you on this. I found a stat because I was thinking, you know what? It feels like Mike mentioned that he would send like, hey, Claude said this, right, to me and to Laura. I think he copied us on every communication about the book. So I went back and counted emails. How many emails, not just emails, but threads, email threads, did I get from Mike about the book over the last 13 months? 900. I got 900 emails from Mike Alvarez Cohen about this book. And it doesn't include texts. Anyway, fantastic. So what a pleasure. It's also my pleasure to introduce a stellar panel who are leaders in the entrepreneurship ecosystem here at Berkeley, and I'm going to quiz the heck out of them. Also, you're going to quiz the heck out of them because if you're like me, panels can be a little boring. That's why I want to hear what your questions are, and you can try to skewer them with that. All right, Dave Schaefer, Caroline Winnett, Trevor Darrell, please come on up. All right, if one of you could grab a mic, the first thing I'm going to ask you to do, and by the way, if you're thinking like, how long is this going to be? It's a quick 30 minutes. I'm going to ask you first, because I'm not introducing you, you're introducing yourself because you can do it better than I can. All right, Dave, you want to go for it?
Sure. David Schaefer. I'm a professor here in chemical engineering, chemical and biomolecular engineering, bioengineering, and molecular and cell bio, where I've been since 1999. So I'm a Berkeley lifer. I've been a serial entrepreneur. I've spun 7 companies out of my lab, and about 4 years ago had the joy, the pleasure of being able to step into a role to help others form their companies, to form their dreams. So I've been director of QB3 and Baker Labs for the past 3.5, 4 years.
All right. And you can see why I did not attempt that full intro. I'd mess it up. All right, Caroline.
Hi, everybody. This mic is interesting. I see so many friends. I'm Caroline Winnett, if you don't know me, the executive director of Berkeley SkyDeck. And I have been in this position for over 10 years. So I have seen this ecosystem grow from pretty darn good to blazing, which is why we published a book about it. What did I do before SkyDeck? You've probably heard my joke. I was a serial entrepreneur, and a couple of them grew up and got acquired. Before that, I was a professional violinist. So anybody here think they can't be a startup founder because of their background? Come talk to me. Okay, we're going to talk about that. And most importantly, I'm a Cal alum, MBA, 1990, and I just got my first P degree. Do you know what a P degree is? What does P stand for? You get it on your name tag.
Parent.
Yes, parent. My son just graduated.
Yep.
So
That's great. I'm Trevor Darrell, professor in EECS, AI researcher. I've been at Berkeley since 2008, was at MIT before that. I'm on the better coast now in the more entrepreneurial ecosystem. Really enjoying that. I've been in AI since before AI was all the things that it is now, before AI was machine learning and all this. And I'm director of the Bear Industrial Alliance Program and one of the founders of Bear. And so I've really been excited to see this ecosystem grow. Happy to share my thoughts.
Awesome. All right. Thank you all for being here. And the book is a retrospective, right? It shows the arc, the history of Berkeley innovation and entrepreneurship. So I do want to hit on that first, because all three of you have been here for some time. By the way, I was a grad student here in 1994. 94. We didn't have any of this stuff, right? This is new. I'm curious to know, just going back in time, when you got here, what the ecosystem looked like then, and then how you saw it evolve. You can have mine. Oh.
I got here, as I mentioned, 1999, completely different landscape. It was, as we all are incredibly proud of Berkeley's ability to conduct, fundamentally, broadly impactful research. That was the pride and joy of the campus at that time, but it was really the only pride and joy of the campus. It was, the joke I always say is that patent was a 4-letter word at the time, because, patenting means you're selling out to corporate interests, you want a profit, which both are, not necessarily bad things, but those were viewed as very pejorative activities at the time. And, the book tells the story about probably a couple dozen factors that the 4 of us could rattle off that changed the ecosystem and pushed it and nudged it and guided it, everything from that thing we call CRISPR, right, to cancer immunotherapy, to, many other events that really, shifted the campus to the point where it is today. But I would never have guessed that, 26 years ago, joining as an assistant professor, that the campus would be, what has become now.
Yeah. How many companies have you started?
I've started 7 companies.
7 companies. Right. Nice. Caroline, when did you get here?
I got here in 1988, people. Way back in the day, there was nothing going on. I don't think the word startup had been invented. So, but I wanted to do startups and start businesses, we called it. So I wrote a business plan and made up my own major at Haas, calling it, I think, entrepreneurial operations or something. So,
Catchy.
of course, that was way back in the day. More relevant, when I got here almost 11 years ago to run SkyDeck, I would say things were kind of like when you're making tea, it's kind of getting warm, right? But you don't put the tea bag in, right? You got to wait till it's boiling. And in those past 10 years, it's been absolutely extraordinary what's happened here. And a simple way to put it is, as we all know, the elevation of the value of entrepreneurship has gone from, nice idea, to serious campus initiative, top priority, one of the top priorities, with the person in the top chair at Berkeley, Rich Lyons, of course, coming from that role. That's an entire transformation of a culture. And I'm really, really grateful that I got to sit here in this amazing ecosystem and not just watch it, but be part of it. It's really been extraordinary. You're going to need 2 slides for your everything at Berkeley. I think you're still trying to put it on one slide, right?
Everything fits in one slide.
No, you need a bigger boat.
The icons are really small. Yep. All right.
Well,
Trevor,
I got
what
to
do you
Berkeley in 2008, and it really is quite a dramatic change, especially in terms of top cover for innovation and entrepreneurship. Actually, I think in 2008, I've been interested in startups and academia since I got my PhD in the mid-90s. And I worked in a startup incubator that some of us might be old enough to remember, called Interval Research. I don't know if anyone remembers that name. But then I went back to be a professor at MIT, and then eventually ping-ponged back to Berkeley. So I think in CS and machine learning and AI, there's always been some entrepreneurship. And when I arrived at Berkeley in 2008, I would say that it wasn't that bad, but it was all secret.
No, it wasn't.
It was all under the table. No one would talk about it. We were actually happy that even back in 2008, 2010, I think Berkeley had the beginnings of a laissez-faire policy that was the underpinning that supported this. I think the BSD goes back even to the 80s, or I don't remember. Yeah. And I think we can go that far back and see the foundation of Berkeley's forward-looking stance on this, because that really has enabled much of the enormous output from CS and AI, which is largely around the open source tradition. So I think that's a huge, huge kudos to Berkeley for supporting that. What else did you ask? I think that was it.
All right. Yeah, just how it changed. What you just commented there.
The top down. I mean, What's changed dramatically. So in 2008, we were focused on DARPA. Yeah. I was going DC, bringing back, $1 million projects. And that was fine. And we had processes for that. And a lot of, actually, the focus was on the thought leadership was often in DC. Mm-hmm. And that the exciting ideas I would get in meetings in DC. And I think slowly, incrementally, for a variety of reasons, every 2 or 3 years is another reason it's changed. It's not, the events of the last 2 or 3 years are dramatic, but it's actually this kind of a linear progression in lack of influence. So almost, it was like 90-10, DC versus, say, corporate, say, Silicon Valley, in terms of what we were doing and who we were paying attention to. Now it's 10-90. I do a lot of work with industry partners in addition to entrepreneurship, and just taken together, industry and entrepreneurship really is driving innovation and basic research on campus in a very positive way.
I just want to chime in on something, because we had, over homecoming, the chancellor hosted a conversation with faculty and also Marco Loba, who's in the room, indeed, where Professor Ana Arias was on stage, so an EECS professor. And she made the comment, when she joined Berkeley, people said, oh yeah, EECS, that's the department where they start companies, like in that tone. She says, now they're saying actually the same words, where they're saying, EECS, oh, that's the department where they start companies. She's like, it's the same wording, it's just the tone has changed. So, Trevor, I'm going to stay with you, because I'm going to put you on the spot and ask you, what do you think is the number one ecosystem innovation, one thing that happened on campus that really affected you in Bear Lab, your entrepreneurial journey, whatever it is?
Well, I think it's that commitment to allowing open source, allowing in my era, it's more in my milieu, it's more accepting non-exclusive research, allowing students to open source, publish, and then maybe even found their own companies. And that seems to have driven so many of the big names that we've heard, not that I've been involved in, but all of Jan Strojka's work, Databricks and the like. I've been involved in several great startups coming out of Berkeley, Grabango, Safely You, I meant to say, and Super Annotate and others, a SkyDeck company. And in each, it's been the fact that Berkeley's been willing to work with the entrepreneur and allowed reasonable processes to allow the freedom to get the impact out there academically and then create a company around it.
Yeah. Awesome. Same question to Caroline. What do you think is the number one ecosystem innovation that you've seen that helped propel Berkeley to where we are now?
I love that question, because 10 answers immediately spring to mind. But I'll say the one that certainly made SkyDeck go from J-curve to straight vertical, and that was partnering with private venture capital. No other campus has done this, right? Nobody else has done it. These are now at Berkeley SkyDeck, and there's other funds on campus, as you've probably heard, the shared carry funds, where in our case at Berkeley SkyDeck, we're a university program, right? So when I came to SkyDeck 10 years ago, I said, okay, venture fund. And that's changing now with the Chancellor's Fund. But back then, absolutely no way could the campus start a venture fund. So I said, no problem. Found a fund manager to launch a dedicated venture fund. And what it's done that's remarkable, that now we're really starting to get asked a lot about, how did you do this at Berkeley? And that is to take the goals of private venture capital, which you could never imagine would align with a public university, but it does. So there's 4 people at the Berkeley SkyDeck Fund that all day long they think about, how do we make SkyDeck companies successful, which is, of course, what the university wants to do. And then when they go public, the giant exit that will happen, maybe with Alton's company back there, or Anders' company, or any one of the other SkyDeck founders here, returns come to campus, and that's an entirely new model for funding education that, as far as we know, no other campus in the world is doing. And we're making it work, and we're very proud about that. And one of the things I'm happy about publishing this book, it's a Berkeley value to bring knowledge to the world. We're not sitting there going, yeah, we did this, isn't it great? Don't you wish you knew? Publishing a book on it. We will share the SkyDeck Fund legal agreement with anybody who wants to see it. We're a public university. We want other universities to copy us. How can you go and align your goals with venture capital? We're really hoping people come and read this book and call us up and pester us with these questions.
Indeed. Right. Quick story on that. It took us 18 months to get the Chancellor's Fund set up. We actually had to go before the regents and, there's permissions, right? You can imagine the very next day, UC Davis is saying, oh, hey, can we do that too? And it's cool. We're cool with that. All right. Dave, what do you think? Number one innovation in the ecosystem that really propelled us to where we are now?
SkyDeck, I think, has played an important role. IPRA, progressive policies out of IPRA have really helped the campus a lot. I would say one organization that really made a big difference to me, and I'm not saying this in a way that's intended to be self-promoting, so QB3. So QB3 is and I'm saying that not because of myself, who I currently direct it, but of my predecessor, Reg Kelly. So he directed QB3 for 18 years. And it is an organization that's really composed of 3 campuses. It's the 3 is Berkeley, UCSF, and Santa Cruz. And it was founded by Governor Gray Davis 25 years ago and really took on the mission of lowering barriers to translation of technologies from academia into industry and viewed that as a public service. The idea is that, universities are incredible at inventing wonderful things, making, foundationally important discoveries, but those discoveries need to make it into a company in order to scale to a solution to a problem in the world. So QB3 and Reg really view that as a public service, getting technology into a company. And I had lots of contact points over the years, way before I played more of an official role in QB3. My first 2 companies were in QB3 incubators. QB3 started the first, to my knowledge, university-affiliated venture capital fund in the country. That became Mission Bay Capital, MBC. They funded one of my companies. And met one of my founders at a QB3 event. And so it's been a thread that has I think, changed both my life as well as the culture of those 3 campuses over the years in a very positive way.
Yeah. So still, I'm going to stay with you. Just because I want to hear more about the Baker Faculty Fellows Program, because that changed some culture.
Yeah, the Baker Fellows Program has been around since 2012 now. It's a program that had really the sole purpose of taking mid to late stage faculty research and enabling it to turn into a company. And right now, we fund around 12 PIs per year. It's extended from Berkeley to UCSF. It's $100,000 a year for 3 years, so $300K as a gift, with the sole purpose of taking a technology that's very promising and enabling it to be a company. So we've funded over 90 PIs so far, over the past 12, 13 years or so. And it's led to over 20 companies to date. That number is going to continue to grow, especially since, for the first 9 years of the Baker Fellows Program, we didn't have Baker Labs. And now we have this kind of the back end of the Baker Fellows Program where research really smoothly transitions from an academic lab, gets mature, and then literally crosses the street from the campus into the incubator. And now the incubator is able to complete that journey and provide strong support and grow and accelerate companies. But I think Rich, gives the Baker Fellows Program, which I've directed for the past 3 years, but again, it's been around for far longer than I've been directing it. Rich gives it a lot of credit for making entrepreneurship a prestigious thing to do on this campus and really, helping shift that culture in a positive way.
Yep, I think it really did. Made faculty founding cool again. Right, so I'll tell you, I know. We all know there's 10 UC campuses, right? Berkeley is one of them. Every other campus is now trying to spin up basically Baker Fellows programs on their home campuses, including with the support from UCLP to make it happen. Berkeley has a 13-year head start. I mean, just think about that. All right. Speaking of thinking about things, I'm going to ask you to put on your prediction hats. I know, these are tough questions. The name of the event is the future of Berkeley innovation and entrepreneurship, right? What is the future of Berkeley innovation? Like, what do you see coming? What's the thing that's coming down the road that's going to change stuff going forward? It's AI.
I'll start. It's definitely AI. AI has no limits, and I think AI is great because it covers almost everything going on in so many different departments right now. So I think the biggest thing that's going to happen in the future that I see is a real increase in actually research funding that will come from entrepreneurial sources. I think that we're starting to see a real inflection point just this year. A lot of it was triggered by the perceived drop in funding and the actual drop in funding, in academia from the federal government. But I think it's also triggered from real competitive juices from these players who realize, just as we've leveraged industry partners over the last decade to fund research, and that was a big change from the previous decade, as I mentioned earlier. We got millions and millions from the big tech companies and AI at Bayer and other labs. But now we're seeing VCs and funds and startups wanting to have the same access. And I see no reason why we shouldn't be doing that and leveraging the ability to get funding from these sources to actually do the basic research. It's complicated, but in many ways, the university is a better partner. Startups don't have the wherewithal to run a fundamental research org inside of them. They were fundamental research before they spun off, but how do they keep current? The university can really help with all these things. We've worked out the model. We have an incredibly innovative, actually, master contract through IPRA, IAP program. We've figured out not only have we raised like over $60 million in the last decade from industry, we now are able to take equity from startups to build these partnership agreements. So we're hoping to have connections with startups at the beginning and the end, in the middle, and then when they grow large, they can actually fund us as industry partners.
Yeah, that's awesome. And kudos to Eric Geigerich in IPRA, Industry Alliances offices, for figuring that out. $60 million of industry alliance money. So, Caroline, what do you think?
Well, so I have two answers to that question. First of all, I think that we're already on our way and we will become the leading expert in how to manage and promote innovation and entrepreneurship on a campus. I think we will become the undisputed leader. I think we will pass certain names, who shall go unnamed, in the South Bay because of the intentionality with which we are doing it. So I think that will happen. And I think more and more universities will look to us. How do we do what you're doing? Because universities need new models of funding education, especially now, and Berkeley is doing it, right? Is there any political objection to innovation and entrepreneurship? No. Everybody loves it. So we're going to keep doing it because it's good for us and it's good for the planet. The second thing I think will happen in two parts. First of all, we are arguably the leading campus in AI. Who's better? Anybody better? Nobody's better, right? We are. We're the leading campus, the leading research, the leading innovators, the leading draw of talent to come work in AI. Some of the biggest solutions using AI will come maybe from right in this building, right? Maybe cancer's being cured right now upstairs. It's possible. In addition, I think we're going to see some really interesting hard tech developments, right? We've got Omar Yagi pulling water out of thin air. We've got people developing battery technologies where you can charge your car in 5 minutes. Something like that is going to come from Berkeley. Something extraordinary. I'm quite sure of it.
Yep, agreed. Foundational stuff. All right, Dave, what do you think?
I think that, all three of us are going to turn out are going to touch upon funding. I think that obviously the world is shifting around us, not just on a 4-year time frame, but also a long time frame. That we're becoming, we're a public university and are proud of our affiliation with California, but California is not supporting us necessarily the way that it used to, and certainly from Washington right now, a lot of us are wondering what's going to happen tomorrow. So our campus, I think, is well poised in that we have embraced entrepreneurship. And, one way of looking at this, and I mean this in a very positive way, not in any way pejorative, what are the best ways we can monetize the products of our research? And this is something that we need to be doing, need to be thinking about. And I think our organizations, Bayer, as well as SkyDeck, as well as Baker Labs and QB3, are doing that, are enabling the campus to be able to benefit from the products of basic research and applied research that are taking place on the campus. There's, I think, a broad variety of mechanisms that are being developed to be able to do this, including, industry relationships and agreements that are terrific for research on the campus. To SkyDeck and ourselves have VC funds we're collecting a portfolio of equity within a lot of the startups that are spinning out of the campus. And the campus is doing that as well through licensing, through IPRA, collecting equity within our startups. And it's a wonderful example of aligned interests that a lot of the faculty are incredibly rewarded and enjoying the process of building those startup companies. It's great for their professional fulfillment. Hopefully it's great for society, and that problems are going to be solved by these startup companies. And the campus has a vested interest in these startup companies and owns equity. So that has the potential, I think, to really, in the future, that portfolio is going to be worth more and more at a time where we're going to be needing it. So I think that the campus has been doing this for a number of years. We're a little bit ahead of the curve relative to other universities. And I think this model is going to work really well in the future, increasingly.
Awesome. That's perfect. I know I'm the moderator, but can I make a prediction too? I don't have to ask your permission, actually. With the book, with the new chancellor, with the success, the pitch book rankings. No, by the way, we didn't even say this, right? Number 1 in the world for venture-backed startups. Berkeley is getting a lot of press, which means a lot of alumni, genuine experts, are coming back to campus to say simply, how do I help? Right? This is really exciting. We're having, frankly, because there's so many of them, difficulty harnessing this alumni interest. A stat that blows me away. Berkeley SkyDeck has how many volunteer advisors? 900 volunteer advisors. Do you know what the acceptance rate is to be a volunteer advisor at Berkeley SkyDeck? You have to apply, right? We only take 10%. Oh my God. I'm not kidding. We take 10% of applicants, genuine experts, alums who just want to help. I'm going to say, with the Bear Lab putting its thinking cap on, how do we 1000x the resources of our alumni base just to help our startups?
Charge them money to become advisors.
Well, okay, there's that. All right, Joe, I told you this was going to be a quick panel and that you get to pepper the panelists with questions. And already, Larissa has a question right here. Okay.
So you guys could share.
That's going to be a question for you.
Okay. Feels kind of weird, like talking to everybody. Anyway, Larissa May from UC Davis. I'm laughing at your comment because it's totally true. They really do wish that they could be a spin out of Berkeley, but they want to do their own thing. So I'm glad that you're sharing all this. But I want to focus on something actually that David said about aligned incentives. And a lot of what was talked about here has to do with the culture of entrepreneurship. And I'm just curious, I'm in healthcare, and in the healthcare industry, I would love to see more physician and healthcare entrepreneurs. And many people are trying to do this from the outside, and some of us have tried to do this from the inside. They're very conservative, not just regulated, just extremely conservative environments that really want to take no risk. And I'm curious what you think, all of you, is going to happen, or what needs to happen to change that mindset, particularly in academia, so that we can actually, have some real solutions for health.
Well, I don't have direct experience, although I am involved in a new startup in that space with a colleague from the Computational Precision Health. Stay tuned. We'll have an announcement in short order. But what I have heard actually is how forward-leaning and forward-thinking Berkeley is. But actually, the sister campus is not so much. So there's a sister campus involved in the CPH department. And I'm hoping the trend will be that the evidence will prove the wisdom of the Berkeley path and other campuses and the hospitals in general can become a little more forward-leaning. I think what we're seeing is that it's starting to crack a little bit in healthcare and in health informatics and in medical imaging in particular, which is our interest. It used to be incredibly locked down. Nobody was thinking about any kind of everything required so much paperwork. It's now getting easier, and that opens the opportunity for some for the kinds of things that we're trying to do. But it's still surprising how many people have their head down in the sand. And one thing in particular is the freedom this campus provides to faculty to be entrepreneurial. And I think that has been, I don't know when that started, but Berkeley has historically been a little bit more laissez-faire than other universities across the country and the world, with leaves, with just the IP rules, with allowing you to take a call in your office or use the toilet without signing away intellectual property. I've always thought of those when I think of the de minimis exception. Other campuses apparently aren't. So it's striking.
Yeah, we're helping them. We are.
Yeah, good.
This is I was at a National Academy of Engineering event last week, and a number of professors who are very entrepreneurial, we were discussing our cultures at our various universities. And one thing that, this is pure speculation, but I'm the only member of my immediate family who's not an MD, but these folks, my mom worked at drug companies, my sister prescribes drugs, and the relationship, I think, between medical schools and industry is one of managing conflict of interest, because a lot of the clinicians are the ones running human clinical trials, and they can't be seen as being swayed by the drug company to be able to produce data of a certain sort. So I think a lot of COE guidelines and rules and oversight happened at medical schools. And I'd love to talk about Davis's culture, but Berkeley doesn't have that. So that I think, helps, along with, of course, the free speech, very bottom up, lit 1,000 flowers, culture that Berkeley has, helps out a lot. I think that some universities are progressing. So apparently Hopkins is very progressive when it comes to spin-outs and entrepreneurship. Stanford is very, very conservative. Apparently MIT, which also doesn't have medical school, apparently is very conservative. But hopefully they'll read the book.
On that point, I'll just jump in and say, on that point, it's well known that, just as the AI revolution started, Stanford lost a number of their key faculty because they were basically told, either stop your entrepreneurship or leave. And the faculty chose to leave. And that wasn't really in Stanford's best interest.
All right. I think we have time for at least one more question. Go for it.
If you guys had to pick one metric, a tangible metric, to measure the potential innovations coming out of Berkeley, what would that be? How would you measure it?
There's a lot to choose from. What do you think?
I mean, we measure our company's success, and we have our KPIs, our key performance indices, dollars raised, number of companies, number of INDs. Actually, the one I tend to like the most is jobs created, because that is productivity, that is stimulating the economy. Obviously, if they're hiring, they're getting investment as they should. But yeah, our companies in the past, we're about to celebrate our 4th anniversary on November 7th. So just during the time that our 50 companies that we've incubated have been with us, we only count the time they're actually in the doors. They've created over 450 jobs in Berkeley. So we're very proud of that. Again, we view it as public service to get technologies into companies, and then that leads to job creation too.
Yeah, I want to add to that. The way Berkeley thinks of what's the metric is, did we make the world a better place? Is it through jobs? Is it through curing disease? Is it through making it so that the planet won't turn into a giant overheated flaming ball? That's how we measure success at the end of the day at Berkeley.
Since the previous two panelists stole all the good answers, I'm going to just be snarky and say either GitHub stars or LLM tokens generated.
Very important.
Nice. All right. Okay, we have 3 minutes. So Susan, you get to pick the last question.
I saw this hand go up, and I like this guy.
Everybody likes this guy.
In the climate world, we have a lot of climate tech and a lot of climate innovation and entrepreneurship that's not going anywhere because of politics, and not just the most recent politics. This has been going on for a while. Is there a role for the I&E crowd and ecosystem to play in those issues, or is that up to the law school and the policy school and the DPLEs?
Well, I would say in the startup world, a good climate tech solution is interesting because it does the one thing businesses really, really want, which is they can operate more efficiently and save money. So a good climate tech solution can win in the market, even given the broader environment.
Yeah, I think that's right. I completely agree. Right, just need to find the market. All right. Oh, now that was a really quick question.
2 minutes left.
We have one more question now. Who's up for it?
Nobody skewered us, Darren.
Yeah.
You promised skewering.
Okay,
Back there.
we failed to mention earlier that with Mike here tonight is his family. So his wife and 2 of his sons who are also entrepreneurs. So we want to hear what the entrepreneur son of Mike Cohen has to ask the group.
Thank you. Thank you. First off, this guy inspires me every day. Very proud. Okay, so this is more of like a comment and almost like a discussion thread. While you guys were talking, it actually reminded me of something. We did Y Combinator, and Y Combinator is a startup accelerator, not affiliated with a university, and they created something called a safe note. And a safe note is a way that a VC or an investor can invest in a startup in a very clean and simple way. And if you do a YC safe, that means that you are getting great terms and there's nothing that you need to worry about there. There was a comment here. Someone said something about like, I think it was you, Caroline, having almost like a template where you could create a template for the way that VCs or investors work with universities. And if you create that template, everyone else can copy it. And then all of a sudden, this template that comes out of UC Berkeley becomes what all universities use. And so that's one idea. And the second one is same thing, but for startups coming out of universities, right? So could there be a template where a university basically says, here is the template we always use. It's safe for both sides. And we want this to be applied for students at many universities around the world. Just want to hear kind of if you guys have any thoughts on that.
It's a great idea, and I think there are a couple different templates that could come out for that. It's a slight double-edged sword. We have this awesome IPRA contract that we run the Bear Commons program through, and people call me up from Stanford sometimes and ask me, can we have a copy of that? But they always call me from the administration, and I just don't answer the phone. My faculty friends have never called me up and asked me that. So maybe you're right. Maybe I'm missing the opportunity to become famous for that, and we'll see.
Well, I will say, if we were in Ithaca, New York, sorry, Cornell, we love you. Any Cornell people here? But a lot of the reason why we can do what we can do, and it's required, is our location. I mean, the amazing Berkeley that we are, not in Silicon Valley, could not have written this book, or would be a very interesting book. So I would say that template would include a very clear-headed analysis of your environmental conditions. How much talent do you have? How developed is the ecosystem in your area? Will startups come and stay, or are they just going to pass through? But something like that, I think would be a great idea. Make it a one-pager, right? Yeah. We love one-pagers here. Yeah.
I think something about the open manifesto from Berkeley and how formalizing the freedoms that Berkeley and the Berkeley administration and the I&E offices give. I don't know if it's a single contract template, but something about that principle. That's what I think this book is going to be doing. And there may not be a one-size-fits-all, but I love your idea. I think it's a really good one. We should follow it.
Yeah. And quick comment, and Mike's going to get another compliment out of this one too. So starting this incubator was not something that our campus had done previously, right? And there were so many policy exceptions that needed to happen that we needed to go to UC Office of the President many times and ask for permission for this, permission for that. Just even the very fact that it was UC policy that any intellectual property generated on university square footage is the property of the regents. That's not going to work for a startup company in an incubator, right? So we got exceptions to all of those things. That students do internships, they get to sign the IP to the companies because they're being. There's like an endless list of things that we have kind of worked out over the past 4 years. Mike has been incredibly creative and a wonderful partner to help out with both of those. And to use, probably your terminology, we're very open source. We make those available to all their UC campuses, and they've asked for them multiple times. And that's, consistent with, I think, our mission as QB3 as well, which is a multi-UC campus organization. We want to help the entire UC.
Yeah, I just have to weigh in on this question as well. So I think Trevor's being modest here. First off, the book documents how BSD, the first open source license, was created at Berkeley, and that helped. That was a template for all kinds of licenses, including the MIT license. But the other thing that we're working on is machine learning models. Open sourcing them is different from open sourcing just software. There's more in a model than just code. And so we're working on an initiative with Linux to create a new open source license for machine learning models. And we're thinking about calling it the Berkeley, open source large language model license. So a template that everyone can take, but builds the brand because they know where it came from.
Yep.
So.
I was going to say, you know what? You should talk to your dad because he thinks about this stuff all the time. All right. That's all we have time for tonight. So thank you to Dave, Caroline, and Trevor. And I think the bar is open for another 25 minutes. So enjoy, mingle, etc. And thank you all for coming.
Thank you, everyone.